Welcome. We're having our presentation for the TVN-Mitacs Accelerate internship program. The presentation will be done by Penina Lam. Please submit your questions online during the webinar and we'll answer as many questions as we can today. If that's not possible, there is contact information at the end of the webinar and please submit that way. So Penina has been a part of our organization since May, and she is leading the TVN-Mitacs internship program. She's had over 15 years of international experience in higher education and corporate settings. She's a PhD in Educational Leadership and Organizational Development from the University of Louisville. So, Penina, welcome today. Can you start the presentation, please?
Thank you, Carol, and thank you for putting this webinar together so that we can bring attention to our stakeholders, essentially the researchers in our network and corporate and non-for-profit organizations that will be keen to engage and leverage the funds that are available through the Mitacs Accelerate internship program. So real quickly, the webinar outline guiding us today is we'll look at why Mitacs and what TVN is contributing to the partnership. We'll look at how it works, essentially the funding blocks and the eligibility to participate in the internship program. And then we will wrap it around with the process of how to apply and the resources that are available to you. And we'll also reserve some time for questions and we'll give you contacts of whom will be able to support you. Mitacs has been around for a while, since 1995, and the role that they play in Canada is building partnerships between academia, the industry, and the world at large. And essentially their goal is to create a more innovative Canada. They have had tremendous success when it comes to funding research and innovation projects with over 95% success rate. So this is very exciting for us to be working with them and to have this partnership launch. And with TVN and Mitacs, we are really ready to help you throughout your entire application process. So whether you're attending this webinar and looking at it from a research angle as a researcher, a graduate student, a postdoc fellow, or if you're looking at it from a sponsorship angle where you have a particular business related research question or a not-for-profit organization and seeking to interact with a researcher, we will be working across the board with those various stakeholders, and hopefully by the end of this webinar, you will get a sense of the key elements that you need to get started. It's a relatively simple process. So with Mitacs success history and our particular TVN's work within the frail elderly care, we are very delighted to have this presentation.
Plus, Penina, we have to add that the budget for Mitacs has been doubled, so the opportunities for the Mitacs is also doubled.
Absolutely, that's a great addition. And so what is TVN bringing into the partnership? Amazing resources, so to speak, in terms of what the intern who gets to participate in such a research study will get through TVN. We have funding to attend the TVN's annual conference. It's coming up in September from the 27th to the 29th of 2015. So that's an opportunity where an intern can also do a poster presentation or represent the research team at the annual conference. One can also apply to the TVN's Sharon Castell bursary, which allows about $500 depending on what's approved and where the travel is headed to for you to engage in knowledge translation opportunities. There will also be an invitation to our interns to attend TVN networking and knowledge mobilization events. And along with that, for you as an intern, we also use the term HQP, a highly qualified person, to have a poster publication emerging out of the conference published in an online journal at no cost to you. So that's great benefit in terms of enhancing your research and publication opportunities. And next is that you would have access to TVN's training modules. There are several of them, and we can provide further details about that. And last but not least is also access to Mitacs STEP program, which is a diverse professional development program that is open to graduate students. So with those benefits, I think they're very appealing. We'll now move on to provide you a little bit of more information on how the structure of the funding works and the funding options and eligibility. As you will notice, the term that I've actually had very well expressed by Mitacs is they sort of look at the internship funding as a building block, so different Lego blocks. So say, bottom line, the necessity is that you'd have some cash from an eligible partner or partners. Then you would have TVN benefits that I just highlighted. And in addition to that, you'll be getting leverage of cash from Mitacs, which then would enable you to continue or to start off a research project that you have in mind. So with the Accelerate program, the basic framework is that $7,500 of cash would come from an industry or from a not-for-profit organization. That $7,500 would then be matched by Mitacs at this same amount, so dollar for dollar, to a total of $15,000, which would fund an internship running over 4 to 6 months. And with that pot of money, $10,000 of that would go to the intern. That's a minimum stipend, with $5,000 of those dollars being dedicated to other project-related expenses. And this comes to the university researcher or the faculty member as a grant. I'll pause for a minute and I will be turning to this presentation in just a minute.
So maybe I just can go through some of the changes that have happened at Mitacs, and one of them was that eligible partners now include not-for-profits. Previously, I think it was back in February or maybe even earlier, it was only industries that were able to provide matching funds for Mitacs. But now this has been expanded, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but that's another really good thing that's happened with the Mitacs program. And Penina, I think you wanted to explain what the clusters were, which are the much bigger projects.
Absolutely. Thanks, Carol, for that. And actually, what we just went through was the basic Mitacs funding model. So with the Accelerate clusters, there's great potential then to even have extra leverage for medium to large term projects. So if you have in mind a research study that you anticipate would last longer than the 4 months or involve multiple researchers or more than 3 students, then that's great potential for the Accelerate cluster leverage. In this case, it can be split among different research groups, and it can actually be scaled quite substantially. I know when you've spoken to Mitacs, they have actually had some studies funded to up to $2.9 million, which is amazing, and they're taking advantage of this cluster model. At a basic point, each research or sponsor would contribute $18,000, so for the minimum of 3 students. And then Mitacs would leverage that with $22,000. So that's great leverage for your funds to allow you to grow and do more with the funds you'd get from Mitacs.
And this will be a good opportunity because we are Canadian. We cover all universities across Canada, and it gives an opportunity for researchers from different disciplines and students from different disciplines to get onto this model, which generates quite a bit of money depending on what your application looks like. But these are the ones that have been very successful in some of the other NCEs, and we'll probably go through some examples later of some successful ones that maybe you'd be interested in duplicating possibly.
Excellent. So we'll look at then the eligibility for Mitacs funding. Who qualifies for this? Industry partners definitely do. So if you're a company looking to have the support of a research team, then you'll be able to get your funds to sponsor a particular intern or a graduate student. The not-for-profit organizations are also eligible. And there is a pre-qualification for those who are not quite sure of the the source of the funding, but most of professional and trade associations would qualify, as well as foundations and charitable organizations. Again, if you're not sure, simply contact us. We'll be happy to help check in your eligibility through Mitacs. Then in terms of students, the program is really set up to support graduate students, so masters and PhD, and postdoc fellows. International students can get the funding as well. They're included. And the ones that are not eligible specifically are government funds, so from municipal, provincial, federal organizations, and university funds as well. But if you have any particular questions on eligibility of partners, do not hesitate to either contact ourselves or Mitacs to get some answers around that. So how to apply? As I mentioned again, it's a relatively simple process. I would say the first step is give us a call right away, and we'll be happy to walk you through the simple process, ask any particular questions, and answer them right away. We can do also that by email. If you're ready to get started, you may also simply go to the TVN website, go under the training tab and look under my TVN-Mitacs Accelerate internships. That's the direct link that will enable you to download a very simple application form that we have to get us started and to get you introduced to the Mitacs business development team. Between ourselves and Mitacs, you have great support to get started, even if you are at the sort of the draft stage. We actually encourage conversation at the front end. You don't have to have the complete application or every single piece figured out. We can check in your eligibility and start as much as we can and get the guidance you need from your institution or directly with the Mitacs representatives.
And this is just to point out too that Jackie St. Pierre also is a manager of partners here at TVN. And so if you can't contact Penina, if she's on vacation or busy with another project, please don't hesitate to contact Jackie as well.
Excellent. So we realize that there are some potential partners who may want to apply, but they do not have a match. So that if you are a corporation, for example, you may not have the research team in place, or if you are a graduate student or a faculty member, you may be looking to connect with an industry partner or a not-for-profit partner. So whichever situation you may be in, you also can go ahead and contact us. The right way to do this is simply download the short guidelines that we have for partnership, and then we will contact you right away, and we can get you started in terms of identifying potential sponsors or interns. And then once that's completed and you are pretty pleased with the partnership and the people you'll be bringing on board, the intern would then complete the full application, which Mitacs would review, and once a funding decision is made, then the internship can begin. So it's pretty relatively simple, and again, these are the links, direct links to the application forms. It's a simple expression of interest to get you started, and you'll find that on our website, as I just noted earlier. When it comes to the full Mitacs application process, again, you'll be using the same basic information about yourself and your organization. There is a short questionnaire around your proposal, what the research entails, and obviously a budget. I mentioned that you will have the full support of Mitacs business development team. So if you're within a campus setting somewhere within Canada, most likely they have a team member within your area, and we are more than happy to link you up to them if you do not know somebody yet within your campus. Then once you've submitted, by the way, there's no application deadline at all. So this is on a rolling basis, and we'll accept applications right away as soon as you're ready. It will take about 6 to 12 weeks due to a peer review process that Mitacs has. The shorter scope and the smaller in scope, then the faster that can be approved, and the larger studies may take a little longer. And again, back to terms of success rate, they have been very, very successful in funding over 95% of applicants. So for those of you who are already familiar with big size grants and big applications, this is really, really on an easier to manage scope.
Yeah, I can't recall a success rate that high in research funding. So that's really great. Plus the fact that what we'd already said was that their funding has been doubled. So they really are looking for opportunities to fund us in this initiative. And I think what Justin was saying from Mitacs was that the actual application wasn't as difficult as, say, a funding application that you would do for a research grant, that it was 2 to 3 pages in length. So it makes it fairly easy to get through the system, and as again, we would guide you through that process.
All right, so in terms of the support you have, again, Mitacs or dealing directly with TVN, we're happy to direct you to the right contact and the resources that you need. This particular slide highlights the quick links for your use, whether you're looking into TVN's other training opportunities or the Mitacs Accelerate program. That's a direct link to get you to the resources that I just mentioned. And the link on Mitacs website to the business development team member within your region will be highlighted through that link on the slide as well. So we'll take a minute to look at a number of questions that we have coming in, but in the meantime, I would like to direct your attention to this particular webinar recording done by Mitacs. It's very insightful in terms of how to develop a partnership, what kind of questions to ask, and how to position oneself. So I want to welcome you to look at it as a resource as you start thinking about partners to bring into your study. So with that said, I want to leave you with our contacts, both for TVN representatives, either myself, Penina, or Jackie St. Pierre. And our phone numbers are listed as well as our emails. And so also is Justin Moores, who is the Mitacs Director for Business Development. So I'll leave this on up as we start addressing some of the questions that are frequently asked and that have come in, and we'll move on from there.
Okay, so one of the questions that's come up quite a few times is students asking if it's a good idea to approach industries on their own. And what we've just said here, and you can see on the slide that there is a link there that you register for, and you can learn on what is the best way to approach industries. That's one method. And when you go on this webinar, the first 10 minutes talk about Canadian innovation, but about, I don't know, 10, 14 minutes in, it starts talking about what the partners want to hear and how to go about it properly. So with that in mind, that is one option, and I know Justin, who was the regional Mitacs director, used this to develop partnerships when he was doing his PhD. So he does say that it's doable, but the other option is to watch this webinar and as well contact the Mitacs representative at your university, and they might be able to help you as well. When you are contacting the Mitacs rep at their university, let them know that you're looking at the TVN-Mitacs Accelerate program, because this will enable you to get additional help from the regional office, and that's how we identify that you're in the TVN-Mitacs stream, and that we can help you through this process and enable you to go to some of the TVN events. So please take advantage of that. So many options to do. I know there's people out there who know of particular research projects that may be of interest to certain industries, and this might be a way to you know, have the conversation with them and be successful. So another question that came up was, is there a cap on the Mitacs funding? And Justin from Mitacs has said that they didn't have a cap. They did have an example, as Penina had indicated earlier, that there was a cluster going on that was approved that was $2.8, $2.9 million. And I'm not sure if he's given a few examples, but one of the larger ones was Chartwell. And Chartwell is retirement home living, and they were a partner and in design and setup of a gaming room inside one of their residences, and they had multiple students and multiple PIs working on this, and I think that was upwards of 2.8 million. So it is doable, these large-scale ones, and frail elderly population is garnering a lot of attention these days, so people are starting to look at ways to help people manage in home, and a variety of research projects that could be eligible for Mitacs. So another question, and I think I said this at the beginning, but I think some people came on afterwards, is that the slides will be available, and so will this recording in the next few days on our website. And I think the last question that we have is more so on the eligible partners clarification, and that's what we talked about earlier in terms of Mitacs allowing now not-for-profits to come in and be a partner. Sometimes that's very difficult to define because of the nature of the business, and basically if it has been classified as a not-for-profit, then it's eligible. And if you're a charity, you have to be a nonprofit before you're classified as a not-for-profit. So they are all eligible. And again, as we said earlier, the government agencies and provincials, bodies, health bodies, social bodies, anything related to provincial, federal, or municipal is normally not eligible. And the organizations that Mitacs will accept have to have an arm's length relationship with those bodies. So those are kind of the gray areas that sometimes will come up, but please call us, and hopefully in the next week or two we will have something up on the website that will clarify, and maybe an FAQ that would clarify what is eligible and what isn't. As we go through this process, we've been asked that very often, and our process is, if we don't know, we send it on to Mitacs and they will clarify for us. The other question that came up is, and I'm not sure if we covered this today, is that in order to be eligible for Mitacs, you have to be able to be at the partner location. So if, for example, it was a relationship with Chartwell, you'd have to spend, it's normally a minimum of 25% of your time at Chartwell, and maybe 25% of a minimum 25% time on the university. But that's fairly flexible, and if you have questions on that, please give us a call again or an email, and we can work through with Mitacs if it's acceptable. I think in terms of Mitacs, they're really willing to work with TVN and all of you to get this up and running, as they see this as a very good opportunity, and so do we, and it's a place to build some partnerships that you might deal with in the future, and you know, build some professional relationships with partners that are working in our area. So I think that's it. I don't think we have any other questions. Like I said, this will all be posted on our website. And Penina, thank you for giving clarification to the Mitacs.
Thank you.
And we will sign off. Thanks very much for attending the webinar today.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.